Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be ranking the 10th Doctor era from worst to best. So, looking at some David Tennant today, one of the most popular Doctors, arguably the most popular Doctor of Modern Who, even arguably the most popular Doctor to some people. Of course, being what makes up most of the Russell T Davies era, this was a huge popular era of Doctor Who, and some of the best episodes Modern Who has ever done. So it's going to be interesting to look at and take a look at the weak points of his era, because there are some, and of course the strong points of his era. So we're going to be looking at all of the 10th Doctor stories ranked from worst to best, and the way I count them as stories, it looks like we have 37 to get through, so buckle up. We're going to be in for the long haul on this one. 37 episodes, or stories I should say, 37 stories to look at. Starting at the very bottom with one of the worst Doctor Who stories ever made. And of course, I'm talking at number 37 about Fear Her. This is one of the worst Doctor Who stories ever made. It's one of the big three. Arachnids in the UK, Kill the Moon, and Fear Her. Probably the three worst Doctor Who stories ever made. This one is terrible. I talked about this recently when I was talking about stories that are worse than Power of Prowl. And that voice that the child uses, which might not be her fault, that could have been a director choice, is just grating. It's like claws on the chalkboard. Every time I listen to it, I just get mad. The bit at the end with the Olympic torch, why is that there? Why is that there? I don't care. It's so dumb. It has that one really nice scene when the Doctor mentions having been a father once. You know, it's like, I was a father once. Rose is like, what? That's a touching little scene. Other than that, garbage and a waste of time. I will probably never watch Fear Her again. If I was watching somebody if I was with somebody watching a watch through on Doctor Who, I'd be like, we should probably skip this one. Or you watch that one on your own time. We'll catch up after that. Yeah, it's just one I dread ever going back and rewatching. Like, absolutely dread. It's the best way I can describe it. Number 36 on the list, continuing with the crap, we have Love and Monsters. Yeah, this one's bad. I don't even remember this one. I've seen it more than once. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. Love the ELO stuff going on in it, because I love the Electric Light Orchestra. I love ELO. Other than that, nothing redeeming about it. Don't care for the guest cast at all. Don't really remember the guest cast, to be honest. The story is dumb. The villain is dumb. It's one of those Dr. Light episodes that do not work. It's like the anti-blink, I guess. I don't understand why some people like this. And some people I know are like, this story is underrated. No, it's terrible. I don't care, because I never care about the guest characters. Any of them. First off, the main guest character, that guy looks weird. I mean, that guy just looks weird. I don't know him as an actor, but he's a goofy looking dude. And then the joke at the end, you know, oh, we even have kind of a sex life. I'm like, ha, 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 ha. 12-year-old me might have found that funny. Probably not. It's not written well. It's not performed well. It's dumb. And I hate it. Number 35 on the list is Turn Left. Now, I know what you're thinking. What? Turn Left is at number 35? Yes it is. Look, Turn Left gives Donna some great character development. It really does. And Catherine Tate's putting in a great performance. However, I don't like it. One, it's another episode, much like Midnight, where it existing takes away a Donna Doctor episode we could have gotten and didn't. Because I love when the 10th Doctor and Donna are together. They're so much fun. David and Catherine have such good chemistry. The 10th Doctor and Donna have such good chemistry that I love when they're together in episodes. It's hilarious. One of the reasons I like Unicorn and the Wasp. They're great together in it. Because this is such a Donna-centric episode, we don't get much of 10 in it, and that takes away an epic episode we could have gotten with them together. And I'm never going to forgive it for that. Also, the linchpin of the episode is that without Donna there, the Doctor would have died because he wouldn't have gotten out in time. And I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I remember in Runaway Bride, she's like, we can go now, and he leaves. But I don't believe he would have waited so long that he would have inadvertently gotten himself killed. I just don't buy that. And if I can't buy the linchpin of the episode, what the episode is based upon to make it work, then the whole episode kind of falls apart for me. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to see this parallel set of events, because I tend to like alternate realities and parallel worlds and stuff like that. My favorite Star Trek The Next Generation episode is literally an episode called Parallels, and it's a Worf-centric episode, but I love it. It's from season 7 if anyone wants to check it out. But it doesn't work for me here because so much of that is, again, on the Doctor dying there, and I don't think that would have happened, and it all kind of falls apart. And then all the stuff with Rose coming, it just doesn't work. I find this episode boring. That yawn really was appropriate. That was exactly the word I was looking for. Boring. I just find Turn Left boring at the end of the day. And even though I've seen it a handful of times, since I don't ever feel compelled to just watch a season by season in Modern Who anymore, I just kind of jump around what episode I'm interested in, I always bypass this one. The idea of watching this one again, probably not going to happen. Number 34 on the list is The Christmas Invasion. I liked this one more on my last rewatch. I didn't hate it. I don't really get into it. The last 15 minutes of it are great. Once Tennant wakes up, the episode takes off, and it has a really good last few minutes. It's not bad in between. Again, it kind of drags. It's a little boring. The stuff with Harriet Jones is great. And I love the brief time, the first time Tennant wakes up and Jackie's like trying to talk to him. And he's like, I need you to be quiet. That's funny. It has its moments, but it's a little too silly for me to take seriously. And I can take the Web Planet seriously, but I can't take this seriously. I just can't. The Killer Christmas Tree? Really? Number 33 on the list is The Fires of Pompeii. I don't watch this one much. I mean, it's great seeing Capaldi in it, of course, and he's great, but I think I've only watched this one a couple times. I never go back to it. It's not that it's inherently bad. I just find it uninteresting, to be honest. I don't really care for it, but I never feel the urge to be like, I'm ready to go watch The Fires of Pompeii! I've never liked that. Even though with Capaldi playing the Doctor later, you figure this would be a fun one to go back and revisit. Not really. I find it uninteresting. I won't go so far as to say boring, but uninteresting. So I really don't go back to it much. And that's really all I have to say about it, because I don't really have much memory of it, to be honest. And number 32 on the list is The Idiot's Lantern. This one is a fun watch if you watch it once a decade. It's not great. The actress who plays the Wire, she's good. I like her. And even the guy who plays the dad, who's very much a prick, like a big prick, I got to give my hats off to the actor because he's pulling it off. He is selling me on it that this guy is a terrible person. So the actor I give props to. I do love the scene when the Doctor's being interrogated by the police, and he turns the interrogation around on them, kind of like what Whittaker does with the Grand Serpent in that episode later. But I love that, how they're, looming down on him, and by the end of it, he stood up and he's looming down on them, asking them questions. I do love that. That's very much the Doctor being the Doctor. And it is kind of done to this humorous bent, so it's also really funny. I do like that scene. And I do like the scene at the end when the mom of the family kind of develops a spine and basically kicks the dad out. I like that. The set, as a set piece set back in the 50s or whenever it's set, it looks really good. They did a good job of making me feel like I'm in that period. The actual story's a little silly, and then the look when people's faces are gone, that's a little weird. I mean, it's very Doctor Who, to be fair, but it's just so weird. It's weird. So yeah, it's not a bad episode. It's just watch it every now and then when you're in the mood for it episode. At number 31 is New Earth. Again, New Earth is nothing special. I tend to appreciate it more when I'm fresh off a rewatch of it. Once it kind of settles, that seems appropriate for New Earth 2, to be honest. Once it settles kind of in the back of my mind, it's not really high on my priority list, but fresh off a rewatch, I tend to like it. Not exactly the best first full story for a brand new Doctor, for sure. Definitely not the best, like, second story for a Doctor, I guess. The story after their post-regeneration story. The lighting's really weird in it, like it's overly lit in places, which is odd. The Deus Ex Machina cure is a little frustrating. It's fun. It doesn't really make much sense, but it's fun. Although the Doctor riding down the elevator is fun to watch. I do love David Tennant and Billie Piper getting their chance to play Cassandra, because they both pull that off well. I will definitely give them that, and that's fun to watch. My heart's beating like a something. That's funny. So it has its humorous moments, some nice little poetic moments, I guess. But it's still nothing to write home about, honestly. Number 30 on the list is The Doctor's Daughter. Now, this one gets points because it has, Nigel Terry? Or Terry Nigel? It's Nigel Terry, isn't it? The guy who played King Arthur in Excalibur. I love Excalibur. So it gets points for having him in it. The Half are a really cool design. I like the fact Martha gets some stuff to do in this one when she's separated from the Doctor. I enjoy that. I think Georgia Moffat is great playing the Doctor's daughter here. And I love how unaccepting of her the Doctor is at first. You know, when he's like, you're just an echo, you don't have my history. I was trying to stop the fighting. She's like, isn't every soldier? There's some really great character moments in there for the Doctor, which I really, really like. And I love that Martha's sad when the one half dies, the one that saves her but ends up dying and still getting sucked into the quicksand. I think Freeman did a really good job performing that scene. I don't really like Tennant's speech at the end, the I never would, let this be a man never would. I don't mind the part when he first tells him, I never would. When he gets down on his level and says, I never would. That's fine. And Tennant sells that. And if they'd cut it there, it would have been fine. But then he has to stand up and be preachy, 10th Doctor. Let this world be funded on a whatever that never would. Ugh. At that point, quite frankly, it's a little too over the top. I do like the idea of him maybe running into Jenny again one day. I don't count the Big Finish stuff. But I would like to see Georgia Moffat, again, she's kind of Doctor Who royalty. Since she's married to a doctor and she's the daughter of a doctor, I'd be happy to see Jenny come back sometime. That would be cool. So, yeah, ups and downs with this one, but again, not one I go back to very often. And creeping into the 20s now, in 29th place, is The Waters of Mars, my least favorite of the specials. Waters of Mars is okay. I don't dislike it. It just never fully quite clicked to me. It's the one I can never quite figure out why I don't like it more than I do. Because there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Everybody's putting in a good performance. I think all of the guest cast are doing a great job. Lindsay Duncan is fantastic. All of them, I think, are putting in good performances. The idea of water zombies is cool. I mean, zombies were hugely popular by then. And the idea of Doctor Who doing its version of zombies is fine. I don't really like the effect. I don't think the effect pulled off as perfectly as it could have. Maybe that's part of what bothers me, especially the way the mouse worked. I don't really care for that, although the actors playing the parts are doing a phenomenal job looking and moving in an inhuman manner. The Doctor gets some nice humorous bits about when he's like, Doctor the Doctor fun. No, wait, let me do it right. Doctor the Doctor fun. I do love that. But I love the nervousness he has as he knows he's not supposed to be there. This is a fixed point in time. Like when he first hears that growl on the screen, he's like, yeah, I really need to go. The fact he knows he's not supposed to be there, that he needs to go. I love the name drop of the Ice Warriors, because this is before we ever saw the Ice Warriors in Modern Who. I love the Time Lord victorious moment. I'm glad it's just a moment. It doesn't need to be like some giant spin-off media thing that's cross-media, because that would just be a stupid idea. Thank God nobody would ever be dumb enough to try that. But for the moment, for that episode, the Time Lord victorious thing is great, because the 10th Doctor is a very flawed Doctor. He is very full of himself. He's narcissistic. You know, the 10th Doctor, people will point out, is a very human Doctor. He is a very human Doctor. But that's a double-edged sword, because he gets the good side of humanity, but he also gets the bad side of humanity. And he is a bit full of himself, a bit knowing he's the smartest one in the room and not afraid to point it out. So it's easy for me to see him taking that final step into becoming the Time Lord victorious, and Tennant sells that bit. We're fighting time itself, and I'm gonna win! He sells all of that. And then when he does save them at the end, you know, that bit about when he's telling her, I'm the winner. And then she's over there, you don't have the right to decide all that. And he's like, that's for me to decide. You know, he plays that arrogance off so well. But then he also plays it well when she dies and he realizes he's crossed that line. He's like, I've gone too far. Tennant sells that really well. So I never quite understand why this one doesn't rank higher for me. Because I know a lot of people like this one. Just for some reason, despite all these good things going on in it, and despite the fact I've probably seen it half a dozen times, I don't go back to it much now. It's never high in my thoughts compared to even the other Tennant specials. So this one, I'm not sure quite why it's this low. It just is. And number 28 on the list is Planet of the Ood. This is another one I don't go back to a lot. But it's not a bad episode. I'm just not a big fan of the Ood. I don't like their design. I find their design hard to look at. I just do. The Sensorite design is much better. The guy who runs the Ood, the bald-headed guy, the actor playing him is doing a great job. I think he puts in a good performance. I also like the kind of twist with him, where he ends up. I think that is poetic justice and interesting. The bits with the Dr. Donna are pretty cool. Some nice foreshadowing going on there. Tennant and Catherine get some great scenes together. And I love the fact we learn more about the Ood here, about how they're more intelligent than people give them credit, and how they have that kind of hive mind. I like that. I do like how it kind of develops the characters of the Ood, and we kind of learn more about them as a society. That's pretty neat. I need to go back and rewatch Planet of the Ood again. It's been a while since I've seen it, and it's not a bad story by any means. Number 27 on the list is 42. My least favorite Series 3 story, but still a good one. I like 42. I like the fact that even the Doctor struggles with what's going on here. Even when the thing invades him, he has trouble fighting it off. The way it looks with the glowing eyes. The fact that the entity they're fighting, as we realize in the story, isn't evil or malicious. It's just fighting back because of what the people there are doing to it. I love the set design for it. I think the direction for it, the directing is really good. The guest cast are fine. Even the guest cast that aren't in it much are fine. There's that one, I can't remember if she's the medical doctor or what. She's not in it a lot. She's one of the first ones killed, I think. But I liked her. The actress sells it. And so even the guest cast who aren't in it long, I feel like they're selling me on it. I feel sad when they die, like the short-haired girl when she died. I felt bad about it. It's got some humorous bits in it too. Again, it's nothing to write home about. It's not essential Doctor Who. But even as the worst of Series 3, I think it's still a good episode. It's one I like to go back and rewatch again every now and then, maybe once every few years. And at number 26 on the list is The Sound of Drums / Last of the Time Lords. Now, I don't count Utopia in this. I know some people count that as just a 3-parter. I count Utopia as its own thing, and then the other two as a 2-parter. That's how I like to think of them, especially since I find Utopia so much better. This is not a bad finale. It's okay. Part of it is just I don't really click with Sim's Master, especially this version of Sim's Master. It's my least favorite. He's a little too Looney Tunes for me, a little too Wile E. Coyote caricaturish here. It's not to say he doesn't have some funny moments in the role, but to have Derek Jacobi be so amazing and then get this right afterwards, that's a huge problem for me. Also, even by this point in Modern Who, I'd kind of gotten sick of Modern Day Earth. I really get tired of them being on Modern Day Earth so much in Modern Who. Again, it's nice seeing some character work with Martha. She gets a lot to do, especially in Last of the Time Lords. And again, Freema's so good in that role. It's nice seeing her family. The actors playing her family are really good. That whole year getting rewound bit's a little silly. I never really cared for the Doctor getting aged down and having to spend so much time in the old makeup. Though that old makeup looks better than some of the other old makeup we've gotten later in Doctor Who, while still not looking as good as Tom Baker's old makeup in The Leisure Hive. And then him being shrunk down to that's a little silly and weird, and I don't really care for that. And then the whole them thinking his name all at the same time causes him to become young again. There's a little bit of, but it's Doctor Who, and Doctor Who does outlandish things sometimes. Sometimes they land better than others. And maybe that lands better with some people than it does me. It just doesn't quite work for me. The effect of it's pretty neat, although the Doctor floating around and shooting it's a little weird. It has its moments, though. And it's nice to have Jack back. I do like seeing Captain Jack back in this. It has its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, I find it very middle of the road, to be honest. At 25 on the list is Smith and Jones, Martha's first episode. I like it. I love the Jadoon a lot. It's a nice introduction to the Jadoon. I love the way they talk. They're show, fro, co, ho, to, pro, fro. I love the way they talk. And I love the fact that they were mainly invented because the writers found out that David Tennant had a really hard time saying the ooh sound in his English accent. So naturally, they had to write him a sentence where he had to say, a platoon of Jadoon on the moon. Because of course they did. That's the way me and my friends interact with each other, so I can appreciate that. The story of the Jadoon, I kind of don't really like the fact they're basically giant rhinoceroses. I don't like when aliens are human animals, but bigger and walk on two legs. But I love the Jadoon so much I'm willing to forgive it. The actual plot of them looking for the alien is interesting. Them taking the hospital to the moon to do it is very Doctor Who. I can't take it seriously, but it's like trying to take the Web Planet seriously. I can't do it. But it's in an affectionate way. It's the same thing here. I can't take it seriously, but it's in an affectionate way. The actress playing the blood-sucking creature is great. And I'm not 100% positive, but I believe she's a Classic Who veteran. I think she was also in Classic Who, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong, but I love when Modern Who sneaks in Classic Who actors. I do. I'm trying to remember if the guy who runs the hospital that gets killed by her was also in Classic Who. I forget. I want to think he was too. One of them was. That's a terrible way he went out, and how they just find his feet. That's creepy. I like how they kind of play it for laughs, but she's like, I even brought my straw. But it's creepy and scary, and it's interesting how that works. I like the fact that the other medical student is just totally terrified of doing anything, and the doctor's like, yeah, she doesn't get to come. I like that. The Doctor is good at sorting out his companions and who will make a good companion and who doesn't. And I do like the little bit of timey-wimey stuff where at the very beginning of the episode we saw the Doctor about his tie, and we don't understand the implication of that till the end of the episode, really pulling into the effect that he is a time traveler. I do like that. I love when Doctor Who remembers he's a time traveler. So yeah, it's a fun episode, a good introduction to Martha. It's just, again, not one I've rewatched in a while. At number 24 on the list is the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. This is probably the best Sontaran episode we've gotten in Modern Who, which is a far cry from a lot of stuff we got in Classic Who. It's still good, though. Again, I love that it brings Martha back, and I feel like Martha gets more character development here. And Freema's doing a good job not just playing Martha, but also her doppelganger. It's nice. I love the fact that Donna and Martha get on so well. I really do. It's nice having Unit back. We basically have a Unit story, which I like. I really like the guy, the one, he gets killed later, but he's running around with Tennant for a bit. I like him. The guy playing the main Sontaran is really good in the role. I actually really like him a lot. I think he plays the part well. The guy playing the Atmos, the actor playing the guy who created the Atmos, I want to say system, but I know that's not right because the S stands for system. The actor playing him, does the role well. He comes across as selfish and stuck up and thinking he's smarter than anyone else. You think him and the 10th Doctor would get on like a house on fire. The special effects for it look really good. I love that it does a good job of showing just how deadly an enemy the Sontarans can be. It's very seldom in modern Who where the Sontarans are treated like the deadly threats they can be. A lot of times in modern Who, they're just used as comic relief. Hello, Strax! Which is very irksome considering in classic Who they were considered a dangerous villain, which they should be. They're a good concept. I mean, it is Robert Holmes we're talking about who wrote their first story, so you know they're a good concept. I enjoyed this one. I don't really care for the ending because the Doctor chickens out and the nerdy Atmos guy has to save him instead. You know, it's that bit just like in Timeless Children when the Doctor's like, 13th Doctor's like, I'll do it. And the other guy has to take the button away for him, do it for her. It's the same thing here. The Doctor's like, I'll press it. I'll press it. I'll press it. I'm going to press it. And I'm watching this going, sure you are. Then the other guy has to teleport in and be like, ha! 10th Doctor, you're so vain. So good stuff and bad stuff in this episode, but it's always an enjoyable watch. Again, I don't go back and rewatch it a lot. I watched the Tennant era so much back in the day that I don't go back to it a lot, except for the really, really like, yeah, that episode. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. But I do enjoy this one. Again, the guy playing the main Sontaran is killing it. And it portrays the Sontarans properly. Now, if we could have just done something about those blue suits. I don't care for the blue uniforms. I am glad that Chibnall brought back the silver uniforms. I am glad Chibnall something. Wow. That's progress. But I did like that Chibnall brought back their proper armor at least. That blue armor never worked for me. Number 23 of the list is, 23 of the list? Number 23 on the list is Army of Ghost and Doomsday. This one's fun. I enjoy it. Tennant gets some really good moments in it. It does a good job of setting us up for the mystery of what these things are, with it resolving to be the Cybermen. And that is a great, bit, right? That would have been a good ending right there, of it just being the Cybermen. You're like, whoa, the Cybermen. Then you get that twist cliffhanger of, boom, Daleks, baby. The orb. It is not Cyberman design. You see the Daleks pop out. And we have our first Dalek-Cyberman crossover. Ah, yes. And man, I love that. I love just how much the Daleks wax the Cybermen. I love that talk they have when the Daleks and the Cybermen are talking. You could destroy all of us with 4 Daleks. We could destroy all of you with 1 Dalek. Love that. Love it. That is so, it's like hilarious, but also just awesome. And yes, I have seen the YouTube version of that as well, where it's even funnier. I have seen that, it's funny. But then the Daleks back it up. They just wax the Cybermen. And I like that because it goes, it shows you how deadly of a threat the Cybermen were when they're invading and that they won. And it just goes to show you how much more deadly the Daleks are when they just mop the floor with the Cybermen. I love their plan and how, the Dalek rebirth will be due to Time Lord technology. And then when you find out it's the prison barge with all the Daleks coming out. That's beautiful dialogue. That scene when they're all shooting out is executed well. Yes, the ending is Deus Machina, but with that many Daleks, it has to be Deus Machina. And at least the Deus Machina makes sense in the story with the Void stuff. It kind of works. The scene at the end when the Doctor and Rose are separated in the different universes is done really well. When it shows them leaning up on the wall and it makes it look like they're on opposite sides of the wall. That is really good. That is excellent acting on Billy Piper and David Tennant's part. That is wonderful directing. The director there did a phenomenal, I can't remember if Graham Harper did this one or not, but the director there did a phenomenal job directing that. The way he does the camera angles to making it look like they're on opposite sides of the wall when they're really in separate universes, separated. And if it had ended right there, that would have been a great ending. Instead, we get that drawn-out ending at Bad Wolf Bay with the Doctor as a hologram. And I felt like I was watching a CW show. Oh, we got to do all the feels. I'm blowing up a star to say goodbye. Rose Tyler. It doesn't feel like Doctor Who. And a lot of you know exactly what I mean. I know some of you are like, that Doctor Who does that a lot now. Yeah, now. But it doesn't feel like proper Doctor Who to me. It feels like it goes on too much. It doesn't feel like something the Doctor would do. It does feel like something the emotional human 10th Doctor would do, to be fair. And I can't be the only one there going, I feel like Troughton. Remember in Trial of the Time, not Trial of the Time Lord, but the War Games, when the Time Lords had him on trial and they sent him away while they deliberated. Can't talk today. And the Doctor's just like, that's me watching that ending scene between Rose and the Doctor on the beach. So the episode, as a two-parter, has its ups and downs. I think it fills out its two parts well. I think it's got a good cast. It just has some things it does that don't quite work for me, especially that ending. It's just kind of where it falls on the list. At number 22, we have The Next Doctor. I liked this one. I really like David Morrissey, the Governor. I like his Doctor. Especially at the beginning of the story, when he thinks he's the Doctor. He's a really good Doctor. I love his outfit because it is kind of that throwback to classic Who. And it's a lot of fun. I like it. I love him and how him and the 10th Doctor get on. I love how they're laughing about their adventures and stuff, like when they're getting pulled by the rope. And when they finally get free from it, they both stand up laughing about it. That's really cool. The problem is once he realizes he's Jackson Lake and he's not the Doctor anymore, he becomes completely uninteresting and becomes a background character. David's still doing a good job of what he has. He just becomes uninteresting at that point. He just, I want to save my son, and Doctor, you need to save it. Go do it, Doctor. That's the Doctor up there. He just becomes unimportant, uninteresting background dressing. And that bothers me, because before he's Jackson Lake, when he's the Doctor, he's great. And I love how the dynamic the 10th Doctor and him have. It almost feels like a multi-Doctor story, and I love that. The woman playing, Mistress Desuvia, or whatever her name is, I forget her name. The one that becomes the Cyber King, she's great. Props to the actress there. She is doing a fantastic job of that. She comes across as being almost emotionless like the Cybermen before she's converted. And I love the fact that her will is so strong, she's able to kind of overpower everything and take over. So when the Cybermen try to put her in charge, they realize they've made a mistake and try to stop her, and she's like, boop, no. The whole bit with the Cyber King at the end is over the top silly. That's over the top. It really is a Vincent and the Doctor taking into the future moment where it's just, once again, I'm sitting over there going, it's silly. That's kind of where the episode falls apart right there with the giant Cyber King. Although I do love the fact that you'd think everybody would remember that, back in the 1800s when that happened. But that is actually addressed later with the 11th Doctor when he talks about time being unwritten. He's like, giant Cyber King walking around London. No wonder nobody remembers it. I do like the fact that's explained. But in the episode itself, I do like the fact that the TARDIS gets used, the weather balloon TARDIS. I do like that. That he actually uses at the end. That's pretty cool. I love the fact Jason Lake had built his own TARDIS. I love the fact he has a sonic screwdriver too. And he has Rosie. I do enjoy that. Plus it's the first time we really get footage of Classic Who in it. When the Doctor shows him the info stamp of the Doctor, and it shows us all of the Doctors up to that point, including all of the classic Doctors. That was really the first time we had that happen in the modern show. We kind of got that in Human Nature with the notebook, the journal, with the drawings of the previous Doctors. But to have the actual classic footage showing the old Doctors, I did enjoy that scene. That's kind of my favorite moment in the whole episode, actually. That is really cool to see that. And I did love the opening of the episode, too, when they were both like, Allons-y! And Tennant subtly kind of looks at him when they said it. He's like, I do love that. So it's a fun one. It just falls apart at the end, unfortunately. Next on the list in 21st place is The Runaway Bride, Donna's first story. This one's fun. I love Donna as a character. She's my favorite modern Who character. I love the fact that she's not putting up with anything from him, that she's just not that impressed with him. Spaceman and all that. I love the fact when, don't you have any money? She's like, pockets! I love that because he doesn't carry any money. They just have such good chemistry, those two, the actors and the characters. Anytime they're in an episode together, they're just phenomenal. I can totally understand why they brought Donna back in series 4 because she is so good in this episode. I enjoy the story. The actor even playing her husband is doing a good job. The actress who plays her mom I always like as well. And then the actor who plays her dad, I know he passed away not long after this. He's really good in it as well. The makeup for the villain, I can't remember what they're called now, but I like her, the Spider Woman. She's cool. The actual makeup for her is really, really impressive. And then the actress is selling it. Yeah, little Martian man, I'm not from Mars. Where then? I like her. And then that's the first time we get the name drop of Gallifrey, I think, in the modern show, when he mentions Gallifrey. In that line, you know, my world is far away and long since gone, but his name is, that's a beautiful speech. And the way Tennant delivers it and the power he puts behind that Gallifrey, when he says it, Gallifrey, just the power he puts behind that word. That's a word that has a lot of meaning to him, that even the memory of his planet has so much power in it. And the way that enrages her, the Ragnos or whatever she's called, because apparently they're the ones who destroyed her people. And then I do think the Doctor stops her a little too easily with the little remote control things, although I do love the fact his pockets are bigger on the inside. That's adorable. But it just seems a little too easy. But it's a fun episode. It's got those fun moments, like when he's having to rescue her. I can't remember. She's in the car with the Santa Claus people. He's having to fly the TARDIS with the string on the. Somebody's got to remember that. Somebody's got to be in their cars going, "Gotta stop taking all the drugs," or something. There's way too many times where stuff happens on Earth where everybody sees it, but nobody ever seems to remember it in Doctor Who. And we get kind of an explanation for that with the angels and time being rewritten and the cracks in the wall, but I really want to see a more definitive story for that. But I do enjoy him having to fly the TARDIS that way. That's funny. So it definitely has its good moments. And number 20 on the list is Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. Now, it's a nice story. I think it's underrated, even if it does have flaws or things that I just personally don't like. I don't really get into the blonde girl and Laszlo. Don't really care for them. They don't do much for me. I don't really like the pig creatures to begin with. Why? I just don't get into that. It's nice having Andrew Garfield in it. His character's fine. I do like the guy who kind of runs the encampment, the one gets killed by the Daleks. I liked him. I thought the actor was doing a good job with him, and I liked the character. The guy playing the boss, the kind of right-hand man to the Daleks, the one that gets bonded with Dalek Sec, the actor playing him is good, even if he's a bit of a cliche. You know, that kind of gangsta cliche. The concept of the Daleks having to evolve, I like. I like the fact that the cult of Skaro's point is to try to come up with ideas Daleks traditionally wouldn't, to think outside the box, which for a Dalek is saying a lot. So I like that with them, and that they choose this plan while knowing it kind of goes against the grain for them. Now, some of it doesn't make a lot of sense, like the whole lightning thing the Doctor does to give the human Daleks a little bit of Time Lord. A little weird. I don't think it works like that, but it's okay. The makeup for Dalek Sec is very kind of camp. It's fine, but it's kind of that throwback to classic Who where you just kind of have to use your suspension of disbelief and admit it's a little silly at times. But I like that. It really kind of draws it in a parallel to classic Who for me, and I enjoy that. I love some of the scenes in it, like when the Doctor first realizes it's Skaro, when he finds the brain piece, and he's like, Planet Grid, Skaro. I love that. I absolutely love that. The bit when he hides from the Daleks and he's holding Martha or whoever it is, and the Daleks go by, and he makes that comment about they survive, they always survive, while I lose everything. It's beautiful. Tennant sells that. His speech about the human Daleks, a little bit of Time Lord DNA crept in, a little over the top. Tennant's speeches are really hit or miss. That one doesn't land for me. I do love the scene, though, when he's talking with Dalek Sec. It's like, well, your creator thought your emotions made you weaker. He was wrong. He was what? I love that. He's just so flabbergasted that a Dalek would say that. he was wrong. I love that. So it's definitely a mixed bag, and it's definitely a flawed story. It's a lot like Asylum of the Daleks in the sense that it has its flaws, but I still like it. Even I'm not 100% sure why. It's fun in places, and I enjoy it. So I'd probably rank it higher than most, even though it definitely has issues. At number 19 on the list is The Lazarus Experiment. I really enjoyed this one. Very underrated story. Another one from Series 3. Mark is putting in a great performance here as Lazarus. The makeup to make him look old at the beginning is done pretty well. I enjoy it. I like the actress kind of playing his older secretary. Is that the woman who played Aunt May in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies? Am I wrong? I keep thinking that's her, but I'm not 100% sure. And then the actress playing Martha's sister is putting in a good performance. And I like the story. The idea of someone trying to make themselves young, find a kind of proverbial fountain of youth, and it going wrong because someone is trying to play God, and it fails miserably and it goes wrong. It's kind of like The Fly. I love the 1986 movie The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. I love that movie. I love that movie. It's probably one of the reasons why I love Baxter Stockman. You can't say I have a Baxter Stockman figure down here because it very much reminds me of The Fly. And he's always fascinated me as a Ninja Turtles character. So I like that here and how he's mutating and how he's going back and forth. And only when he feeds does he turn human and he has to feed again. Now, let's be honest, the CGI for this one doesn't hold up that well. It's one of those episodes when people who like the modern show are like, I can't get into Classic Who because of the special effects. I sit there and point to this one and go, up. The special effects aren't that good. But to me, that gives it a nice connection to Classic Who, because if there's one thing Classic Who has a reputation for, it's, especially among us classic fans, is that, okay, sometimes the special effects might be a little camp or wonky, but the story makes up for it a lot of times. There are lots of good Doctor Who stories in Classic Who where the budget might be showing, but the story is so good, it makes up for it. And to me, that's how I feel Lazarus Experiment is. The effects are a little dodgy in places, but I enjoy the story. I like the story. I love the speech when the doctor is talking to Lazarus about the World War II bombings. And Lazarus is like, you read about it? And the doctor's like, I was there. I love that. The way Tennant delivers that line, you believe him when he says that, I was there. Just the look on his face. So it has some really good scenes. I haven't actually rewatched that one in a while. That would be a good one to rewatch and review, because I really do enjoy it a lot. Number 18 is The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. This is a good two-parter. Its biggest problem is it's a little too over the top, because Russell's season finales always feel like they have to be bigger and better than the one before it. Like they have to raise the bar. And sometimes less is more instead of more is more. It's great to have Davros back. I think he's great in this. I think Julian is a great successor to Michael Wisher. Julian's probably my second favorite Davros. I love the way they do his makeup in this, way better than the Capaldi two-parter. He looks more like the Genesis Davros, which is my favorite look for Davros, the Genesis one and this one. He just nails the Dalek voice. I love the way how it shows little hints of him before it actually reveals him. I like the idea of the two 10th Doctors. I enjoyed that. I love the fact Rose gets her happy ending with her doctor, her human doctor she can grow old with. I absolutely love the fan theory that that's a younger version of Cushing's doctor. I mean, it doesn't work when you start thinking about it, but just, I still love it. It puts a smile on my face that it's a younger version of the Cushing doctor. It's a little overcrowded, and on one hand I like that, and on one hand I don't. And there's a lot of companions crammed into this. One, it's nice to have a final full story with Sarah Jane and Doctor Who. And it's not something you get in Doctor Who when you get this many companions together and they all feel like they're given pretty decent roles, which I enjoy. Even though it's there partially for fan service, it feels like it's fulfilling a fulfilling part of the story. And the scene at the end when they're all piloting the TARDIS is a really nice, beautiful scene. And it's nice to see the 10th Doctor so happy to have them all there. And the music that plays there is really, really good. Murray Gold does some great incidental music. I love that song when they're pulling the Earth back. Even if that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Wouldn't the TARDIS pulling the Earth like that cause floods? And I mean, the gravitate. I just feel like that by the time the Earth got back where it's supposed to be, wouldn't it just be devastated? I mean, it's another one of those moments where as soon as you start thinking about it, you're like, huh. But you have to sit here and go, okay, it's Doctor Who, it's sci-fi, just pretend it's okay. You know, it's like Superman flying around the world and making it spin backwards to rewind time. You just accept it and move on. I do enjoy just how deadly the Daleks are in this when they're just waxing people left and right. I love Harriet Jones' final stand. I love the fact that even the Daleks are annoyed. Yes, we know who you are. That's a nice running gag with Harriet Jones through all of her tenure. And I love the fact that the last people to be like, we know is the Daleks. I love that even the Daleks not only know who she is, but the Dalek who says it, somehow, even with that monotone voice, manages to sound somewhat annoyed. But we know. I like that. Again, a bit over the top, but fun. You gotta have fun with it. It's got its moments. And again, I love the 2 Doctors. That's just fun. Matter of fact, the outfit that the Metacrisis Doctor wears is one of my favorite 10th Doctor outfits. That darker blue coat with the kind of reddish maroon shirt. I like that. I wish he wore that more. Number 17 on the list is Voyage of the Damned, which I think to this day is still the highest viewing figures modern Who has ever gotten. It hasn't quite beaten some of classic Who's records, but I think it's the highest viewing figures a modern Who story has ever gotten, with like over 13 million. It's a bit of a letdown because from the cliffhanger of Series 3, I was expecting the actual Titanic, even though that wouldn't really fit with canon because previous Doctors already been on that Titanic. But the idea of a spaceship Titanic is interesting, and it's Doctor Who's spin on it. And I do love the explanation of, well, it was named after a famous, Earth's most famous ship. The Doctor's like, do you know why it's Earth's most famous ship? I do enjoy that. I love Clive Swift. Is that his name? Clive Swift, who's also in Revelation of the Daleks. He's great in this. I like him as an actor. I know he's in, what was it, Keeping Up Appearances? He's very famous for being in a British show. It might have been Keeping Up Appearances, I think. I never really watched it, but I think my grandmother liked it. He's great in this. He's putting in a fantastic performance. Kylie Minogue, or whatever her name is, the singer, she's good in this as well. I like her. If I ever rank the companions, she'll be on the list. She's good enough to where I consider her a companion, even though she's only in this story. I liked her performance in this. I love how she sacrificed herself to stop the villain. My name is Bane, or whatever his name is. I can't remember. I do like that guy. And I do love the little bit of humor in it, how whenever he does a commercial, his tooth glints. I like that it actually does that when the Doctor meets him in person. The Doctor's like, oh, it actually does that. I like that little bit of humor in there. A lot of people die in this one. This one really harkens back to classic Who, where a lot of people don't make it. Which, to be fair, that happens in early modern Who a lot too. People die. You feel bad for the cooks in the kitchen, and when the angels take the... I like how their look kind of reminds me of the Axons. It's a nice little callback to the Axons, while at the same time kind of being a callback to the Robot of Death monsters, the way they talk. It's like if you combine the Axons with the Robot of Death monsters, you have these guys. And I love the fact that their angel... Something about an angel halo being used as a weapon. I love that. That's hilarious. The guest cast are all really good. Even the annoying guy that you want to die that doesn't. The actor playing him is perfect. I love the Bella Kafasafalaikakis, or whatever his name is. He's a really cool character. And I like how he goes out, kind of saving everybody else. I enjoyed that. Cyborg! I love that. Yeah, it's a really nice set piece. The special effects for this one hold up really good. Plus, I believe another classic Who alum, Jeffrey, I believe his name is Jeffrey, who also played in Silurians and the Mutants, plays the captain briefly in this one. And I like him. I really like him. So it's nice. I love when they sneak classic Who actors in. I really do. Yeah, this one, it seemed like the budget was increased for this one, and it shows, and I really like it. And the Doctor's speech about, I'm the Doctor, I'm a Time Lord, it's a great speech. It's a wonderful speech. One of Tennant's good ones. Counter to that, his speech at the end when he sets her free and she can float among the stars forever is one of the Doctor's worst speeches in all of Doctor Who. I don't think it's Tennant's fault. I just think the speech is bad, but I'm never sold on it. it never lands for me at the end. I'm always like, she became space dust. Okay, whatever. Now, the part when he's mad, when he's trying to save her and he's trying to get the machine to work and he's getting angry and he's kicking it, you can't do it. I can do anything. That part I like. Once again, Tennant's that very human doctor, which is a double-edged sword, and he's frustrated that he can't get it to work. I think we've all been there. I've had those moments where, I feel like I should be able to do something and I can't. I had someone I was dating one time. We had a lot in common. It didn't work out. And I remember being frustrated because it felt like it should have worked out because we had a lot in common, and just for some reason it didn't. And I remember that frustration, and I feel like that applies here to knowing you should be able to do something, but for some reason you can't, and how irksome and frustrating that is. I think Tennant sells that perfectly, and that's a perfect thing for his doctor to do and feel. Number 16 on the list is Tooth and Claw. And this is where we really start getting into the good ones. I've liked the past few we talked about, but this is where we start getting into the ones I really enjoy. I like Tooth and Claw a lot. I love a good werewolf story. The werewolf effects have not aged the best in the world, let's be honest. Especially at the end when it's caught in the beam. Let's be honest. But again, willing suspension of disbelief, it's fine. I love the doctor's reaction to the werewolf. Oh, you are beautiful. That's very the doctor. Very the doctor. He's not scared. He's not afraid. He's too busy marveling at the majesty of this creature that he's not really seen before. And I just love his reaction. It's very the doctor. This one is shot well. I think it's directed well. The actress playing Queen Victoria, who also is a Classic Who alumni, because I know she played in The Faceless Ones. She is great as Queen Victoria. She has this regal way she carries herself that is perfect. I love how the doctor and her are kind of treating it as a game at first, with the little bet on if she can say, whatever it is her famous quote is. I forget. But I love how they're treating that like a game, and how the doctor I like how Tennant gets to use his actual Scottish accent in this at the beginning. And I have to give them credit, because I never, ever, ever have managed to catch the point when he stops using it. I've never noticed. I can't tell you, even though I've seen that episode probably 4 or 5 times. Because it's done so subtly where he forgets that he's supposed to be speaking with that Scottish accent and he reverts back to his English accent. I have never once caught exactly where it happens, even though I love the fact Queen Victoria picks up on you, whose accent comes and goes so easily. My biggest plot hole is the fact that obviously Queen Victoria's husband and then the other guy's dad, when they built that one room to fortify against the werewolf, where the werewolf can't get in, they left the glaring glass dome ceiling that it could crash through. That just seems like that's like an exhaust port plot hole there. You think they would think, all right, we've got it fortified, except for the glass thing, but yeah, it'll be all right. Because if they had fortified it up, it would have never gotten in. And you just feel like when they're going through all that trouble to set up a trap for this thing, they would have been like, one of them at least would have been like, hey, Frank, what do you think? So, bit of a plot hole there. But other than that, I enjoy it. It's a fun one. It's a great Halloween episode for Doctor Who, and I love it. Number 15 is The Rise of the Cybermen. Is that the name? Oh, yeah, and the Age of Steel. Rise of the Cybermen, the Age of Steel. The story that introduced the Cybermen into Modern Who, and for a lot of fans who started with Modern Who, their introduction to the Cybermen. I think this is a clever way to bring back the Cybermen, and especially update their design while being a good in-canon reason for them to look different than the traditional Cybermen, with these Cybermen originating in a different universe and having a different origin story originating on Earth. That's genius, and I love it. I like this cyber design. It's a good update. I still have lots of others I prefer over it. I think the face is a little too long, to be honest. And I don't like the delete, their version of exterminate. I don't like that. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Cybermen voices in general in the modern series. I don't really care for that. But again, parallel universe, it fits. They seem more robotic to me, which I don't, again, really care for. And I know early in this one, it's more just brains and suits of armor than the traditional Cybermen. And again, different origin story, that makes sense. The guy who plays Loomis in this is great. That actor, give him an award. He sells it. I like him. The guy playing his kind of Alfred Butler character is really good too, and I swear he's from Classic Who as well, but I forget exactly if I'm right on that. But I like his Alfred Butler character and how he tries to turn on him at the end when he realizes what's happening. I love the whole Mickey Ricky thing. That's pretty neat. Mickey really gets some character development here. I like that he decides to stay. Tennant and Rose get some good scenes together. I like she's a little jealous of Tennant talking to the other one. Most of the time I don't like their relationship stuff, but I did find that a little amusing. I like this one. It's one of the few good Cyberman stories in modern Who. There aren't many. The Cybermen are done pretty wrong actually. Rawly wrong in modern Who. But this is a good one. It's a great way to reintroduce them for a new generation. And next on the list is The End of Time, Tennant's final story as the 10th Doctor, chronologically. I like The End of Time. I know some people aren't as keen on it. They think it's a little bloated. They don't like the ending. I enjoy it. John Sims' Master is way better in this story. I like him a lot here. I still prefer him in World Enough Time, but he's a lot better here. And his attitude's a little explained by his Skeletor thing he's got going on, and the effect of that is really not aged well. But I like the idea of him having the blast and eating people to live. I enjoy that. The cacti people are cool. The actors playing them are fine. Tennant's putting in a good performance. I'm always happy to see Bernard Cribbins back as Wilf. I love Wilf. He will definitely be on that companions list. Him and Tennant just have good chemistry together, and Wilf and the 10th Doctor just get on so well together. And they have so many heartfelt moments in this story, and so many humorous moments in this story too. I also love the incidental music in this story. The theme that plays when the Doctor and Wilf are talking in the diner and they spot Donna, beautiful piece of music. The theme when the Doctor and the Master confront each other in the junkyard is really good. And then, of course, the theme when Tennant regenerates is amazing. The Val Decem, or however you pronounce it, it's Latin, is beautiful. I love that. I used to listen to that so much. I have the special soundtrack, and I used to listen to that piece of music all the time. It's epic, epic, epic. I really enjoyed the extended ending with, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I like that Lord of the Rings approach. I feel like the 10th Doctor earned it. The 10th Doctor, for a whole generation of people, is the first Doctor people really had time to grow with. Because Eccleston, as great as he was just kind of there and kind of gone. People didn't, just as people were starting to get attached to him, he was gone. Tennant was the first one where they really had time to bond with, to connect with, to grow with, for him to become an important part of their lives at that young age. So with him, even though a lot of people might have understood about regeneration of the Doctor changes, they didn't really get it until Tennant was leaving, and they had to realize that their Doctor was going and that some other new jerk we're going to take on the role. And I like Matt Smith. That's usually most people's thoughts when a new Doctor comes in is, who's this new jerk? I mean, I'm always like this. I know all about regeneration. I'm always like, who's the new jerk? Because you have to adjust to him. And for a lot of people, they were going to have a heck of a time adjusting to Matt Smith. Luckily, he nails it in 11th Hour. He nails it. But I love the extended ending with him being sad and him getting the goodbye with everybody, even the descendant of the woman from Human Nature. The kind of goodbye with Rose. Seeing Sarah Jane one last time. Seeing Captain. I enjoyed that. Again, the music right there is so good. And then I enjoy the regeneration sequence. And the I Don't Want to Go fits his Doctor perfectly. I know some people think it's too much. I don't. It fits his Doctor. The 10th Doctor liked being the 10th Doctor. And if you think about it, he didn't get to be the 10th Doctor very long. Because he's only the Doctor for, if you look at it, a handful of years. Because he was already over 900 as the 9th Doctor. And he was only 906 in the End of Time. So he only got to be the 10th Doctor like 4 or 5 years. Not long. And he loved being the 10th Doctor. So that I Don't Want to Go really fits for his character to me, especially he's a bit narcissistic. And then, of course, it's a nice echoing a lot of fans who didn't want him to go either. That was their doctor. They weren't used to really having to adjust to a new doctor. So overall, I like The End of Time. It's a story that doesn't get enough respect, in my opinion. And number 13 on the list is Unicorn and the Wasp. This is a fun one. In fact, when I was asking people in a video, in this Armageddon video about what if they could only save one story from each season of Modern Who, I was very pleased to see Unicorn and the Wasp show up on a lot of people's list. I was surprised, but very pleased. This is a fun one. This is one of those episodes, it's filler, but it's fun filler. I feel the same way about the Crimson Horror. And quite a bit of season 17 in Classic Who, actually. This one's just a lot of fun. I love it. It's comedic. It's funny. It's a perfect example of the 10th Doctor and Donna being so good together, and David and Catherine having such good chemistry. I mean, the story itself's a little silly, but it's like a Classic Who silly. Like some of the Classic Who stories could be sometimes, like the Web Planet or something, could be kind of silly. And I enjoy that. I find it funny. I think the guest cast are all doing a good job. It's like, and they all seem to slightly be leaning into the camp without going overboard with it. Like, it's not just farcical. They're just kind of leaning into the tone of the camp of the story. The actress playing Agatha Christie is great. And I love the fact she catches on to the fact the 10th Doctor and Donna are not a couple, because that was kind of a running joke for this season. I love the fact she catches on they're not. The guy who does turn into the Wasp, which I like him as an actor. I've seen him in other stuff. I love the scene when he's starting Jay-Z. They're like, what's that? Again, it's kind of silly, but it's fun. It's such a fun episode. I need to give it a rewatch. Plus, it has Christopher Benjamin in it. Of course, from Talons of Wing Chang and Inferno. So I love seeing him back. Again, I love when Doctor Who sneaks in classic actors. This one's a lot of fun. Number 12 on the list is the Shakespearean Code, another underrated Series 3 story. This one's got a lot of good stuff going on, and it is a lot of fun. The guy playing the younger Shakespeare is doing a really good job. I really enjoy him in the role. The story about the witches is nice. The makeup for the witches is good. The opening segment before the credits, you feel really sorry for that guy who's serenading her, and they ate him. I enjoyed that. Doctor Who does historicals like really well, really well. It's like, you know, they have all the set pieces. They're really good at making you feel like you're there, and I enjoy that. And I love after the show, after all the special effects and the show's over, everybody's just applauding. Oh, they want you to do it again for the Queen. She's coming to see it. That's funny. And then the ending bit about the Queen recognizing the Doctor, my nemesis. That's funny. I do love that we see that resolved later, but that's funny. It's a fun, adventurous episode, and I like it. Number 11 on the list is The Silence in the Library. A very good two-parter from Stephen Moffat. Moffat, man, when he's writing in the Russell T Davies era, he is gold. I love when Doctor Who takes something ordinary and makes it deadly. Like here it does with shadows, you know, not every shadow, but any shadow. I enjoy that. I like the cast of characters we have in this story. I feel like the guest cast are doing a pretty good job. The stuff with Donna going on in the computer doesn't interest me as much. It's some good character development for Donna, but I'm never as connected with those scenes as I am the stuff going on with Tennant and the group in the real world. Now, the bit with the shadows being in the suits and walking around is a little silly, but it's fine. Everything up until that I thought was really solid. The set design for the library looks really good. I love the idea of the whole planet being a library. I enjoy that. I love that we do get to see the Doctor with his back up against a wall, basically calling on his reputation when he's like, you know, I'm the Doctor and you're in the biggest library in the universe. Look me up. And then the shadows retreat. The fact they're like, you have one day. I enjoy that. I love, and the way Tennant delivers that whole speech there is so good. The introduction of River's song. I think River's never better than she is here. River's hit or miss with me. Sometimes I love River, sometimes I don't care for River. Alex Kingston is always putting in a good performance. She's great. But it's nice seeing the Doctor not being the smartest one in the room, in a sense. The fact she knows more about some stuff than he does because she's from his future. Like she says, it's like when you see a picture of someone before you knew them and they don't look quite right yet. I love that. I love watching the 10th Doctor being behind and having to catch up here. Which you would think would make me a huge fan of Whittaker, but no. Because that's one of the things she excels at. But just for this story, it's interesting seeing the Doctor having to catch up to some of the stuff River knows. It's a fantastic dynamic through the course of the episode. And the scene when, she's like, oh, have we done this yet? Have we done this yet? And she's going through her diary, and you just see Tennant confused. Like, is there a reason you're acting like you don't know me? He goes, yeah, pretty good reason. I love that scene. It's a magical scene, especially on rewatch, Especially having seen everything that comes after with her. Him just kind of, And she's like, oh, early days then. Although it's still weird that if she doesn't run into the 10th Doctor a lot, she should have realized this was early in their run, but wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. It's a good episode with a good ending, and I like it. Cracking the top 10, we have The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. I used to not be a big fan of this one. It was really, I always thought it was kind of, but my last rewatch of it was just the past few months was the first time I'd watched it in a long time, probably at least a decade at least. And I really appreciated it more. I love how much it reminds me of like Hinchcliffe era Doctor Who. It gets its horror tone across really well. I love the fact they have Gabriel Wolf back to voice the Beast, who of course voiced Sutekh in Pyramids of Mars, which is good because Sutekh is supposed to be a possibility of where we derive our version of the devil from, and so is the Beast. So I love the fact Gabriel Wolf is voicing both of these. It's like whoever cast Gabriel in this knew he's the same person who did Sutekh, and I love that. The scene when the voice is talking to the one guy that ends up getting possessed, when he's telling him, don't turn around, I'm right behind. That's a creepy, tense scene, and you can feel the guy's fear. And then that whole bit when the symbols disappear from the door and they appear on his hands, I think that's just as effective as like in the Ark in Space when Noah pulls his hand out. Somebody wrote that somewhere. I forgot. Somebody was describing that scene somewhere and they compared it to the Ark in Space. I forget who it was. But that's an apt comparison of when Noah pulls his hand out and is covered in the Weirin goop. The green bubble wrap. I enjoy the guest cast more than I used to. I like them. I still don't really care for the Ood. The Ood always kind of put me off. I don't like their design. But the little glimpses of the Beast, my eye itches. Hold on a second. There we go. The glimpses we get of the Beast, like when it appears on the monitor briefly, or, when the Ood's eyes turn red and he's talking to Donna while serving not Donna, but Rose while serving the food. It's like, you are all going to die, or whatever it is he says. He is coming, or whatever. And she's like, what? The ending scene didn't bother me as much. I used to hate his speech about, I believe in her. And I still don't think it's one of his great speeches, but it's fine. It's okay. I do love the Doctor's curiosity, though, when he's going to explore the hole and he runs out of rope. The fact that he uncouples it, because he's like, that could be 3 more miles down, or it could just be 30 feet. I'll never know. And I love how he unhooks it and falls. Because the Doctor's his curiosity is his biggest trait, in a way. I don't know whether you call that a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if the Doctor knows either. I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. As the 5th Doctor said once, why do I always let my curiosity get the better of me? I love the fact that it's very in character for the Doctor to do that, and I really like that. And I love the fact Rose is kind of the one who saves the situation by blasting the glass and unhooking his seatbelt so he goes flying out. The special effects on that are a little dodgy. But I do love the fact it's kind of Rose who saves the day there. That's pretty cool. And also the special effects on the Beast are a little dodgy. They're good for 2006, but they're a little dodgy by today. But it is a solid, good horror episode and a good 2-parter. It fills out its 2 parts really, really well. Number 9 is Partners in Crime. the Series 4 opener. This one's funny. It's a little silly, but the little fat cubes look adorable. I feel like I'm not supposed to take this one seriously. I'm supposed to treat this one as a comedy. I mean, it's kind of sad at places because, like, you see the one girl die, the one that's supposed to be waiting on the taxi. She actually, like, dies. That's kind of creepy. But the little fat things are just adorable. I can't hate them. The woman who's playing their nanny, she's really good in this. Miss Wormwood or whatever her name is. She's really, really good. I like that she has her own sonic device. There's a lot of humorous bits in this. I like the fact, well, can she open it? Well, only if she has a sonic device too, and it switches to her using the sonic pin. The bit when he holds the screwdriver up to the pin. You know what happens when you put them together? No, nor me. I love when the Doctor and Donna keep missing each other by barely. Like right at the beginning when they're both in the cubicle office and he'll lean up and she'll duck down and she'll duck up and he'll lean down. They just keep barely missing each other. I love the bit when the one girl's like, when he's like pretending to be health and safety and she's like, here's my number. He's like, what for? It's like, you be health, I'll be safety. I just love David Tennant's, what for? That's so the Doctor. Although if there is any Doctor who should have known what she meant, it would have been the 10th Doctor. And of course, that scene when they finally spot each other. When he's outside the window and she's at the door with the little round glass to it. That is hilarious. I love that scene. When she's like, it's me. And he's like, I can see that. What are you doing over there? And I like, at first you can kind of tell what they're mouthing to each other. But then she starts, and you just see David Tennant's over there. I love it. He's like, he has no idea what she... I love that scene. Just for them to have been noticing. Are we interrupting? It's a funny episode. And then a great cliffhanger with us seeing Rose and wondering what's up with Rose being back. Even that bit at the end. I don't want to travel with anyone. I just want to mate. You just want to mate? I just want a mate. It's a very humorous, funny episode. I enjoy that. Number 8 on the list is Human Nature and the Family of Blood, which of course is based off one of the novels from the 90s with the 7th Doctor. The acting performances going on in this are incredibly good. David Tennant does such a good job as John Smith that you kind of feel for the character of John Smith and that he basically dies, that he has to turn back into the Doctor. It's so nice, I'm sure, for David Tennant to have been able to play a different character, basically, in his show. He's doing good there. Freema is putting on a good performance as Martha, as she's kind of having to save the day and get him to turn back into the Doctor. The people who get taken over by the family are doing a great job, especially Son of Mine. That guy deserves an Oscar. He does these little things once he's taken over and he's the Son of Mine. Like, he just gets this look on his face that's so alien, and it very much feels like someone who's just puppeteering a human body. Like, the way he tilts his head at times, the way he smiles, and I swear he doesn't blink. I could be wrong. But even if I'm wrong and that's just something in my head, it's because he's so effectively playing the part. But he is phenomenally good there. The one playing Mother of Mine, too, she's good when she's just the kind of maid character. And then when she actually becomes Mother of Mine, she's doing a good part. The Father of Mine doesn't really get a lot to do. He's fine. And then the younger girl, she does a pretty good job, too. I like how she kind of keeps that neutral expression, which is very good for a child actor. The woman playing David Tennant's love interest, she is putting on a good performance. She runs a gauntlet of emotions through it. I like the setting, the other schoolboys, the main one, I forget his name, I know he's actually a pretty popular actor now. They all do a pretty good job. I enjoy the story. I think it fills out its 2 parts really well. This is one of those times where part 2 lives up to part 1. Because in Modern Who, part 2 doesn't always live up to part 1. It really does here. It has a good cliffhanger. And it has some really good incidental music. I have the soundtrack to series 1 and 2, which is on one soundtrack. And some of the incidental music for this one is really good. The, Dream of a Life I Never Had or something like that, when he's seeing that vision of him growing old and having children and dying an old man. That's a beautiful piece of music, really sets the tone. And then the ending when he does become the Doctor and you see the fury of the Time Lord. That scene when the ship blows up and you see him standing over him and it cuts to that close-up of him and he just looks up like, he just flicks his eyes up. That look on Tennant's face is, do not screw with this person. He will break you. And seeing how he imprisons all of them, what he does to them, and locking them in mirrors and wrapping them in chains and dressing them up as scarecrows. And then the monologue at the end when he's like, this man who had, destroyed armies and all this, why he ran from us, he was being kind. It's such a good episode. Definitely a highlight of Tennant's era. Number 7 on the list is Midnight. Another one that has gone up on rewatches. This is one I used to not care for. I always called it Tennant's most overrated story, but I think a lot of that was just because I was really a Tennant fanboy for a long time. He was my second favorite Doctor for a long time. I really liked him. And so the fact that he doesn't really fix things here, he has to be saved in the end, always rubbed me the wrong way. There's still the issue I have where this episode existing here takes away another episode with the Doctor and Donna together we could have had, because I love the Doctor and Donna together, like as I mentioned when I was talking about Turn Left. And because we have this, that's another episode of that we don't have, and I still kind of hold a grudge against it because of that. But Midnight taken on its own is fantastic. It is written well, it is performed well, it is directed phenomenally. I love whoever directed this episode. It does a good job of feeling claustrophobic and dark and closed in, and nobody knowing exactly what's going on. Even the Doctor being at a loss. And the Doctor's being brainy and the smartest one in the room gets him in trouble here. The other people get annoyed by that because he's acting like, I'm the Doctor, I know everything, and that's annoying everybody. They think he's somehow in on it. They don't trust him. They want to throw him out. When he tries to tell him, what's your name, John Smith? That's not a name, fake name. I love how basically the 10th Doctor gets called out for all this crap on this, and I love it. The actress playing Skye in this, she is so good. She comes across as unnerving and unnatural, and she plays that role really well. Even when she's just sitting there watching, the look on her face, she plays that role really well. It's nice having David Troughton in this as well. I, again, enjoy when classic Who actors sneak in, especially Patrick Troughton's son. The rest of the cast are good too. And I love the fact we never know where this thing comes from. I love the fact the origins of this entity are never explored. We never really find out much about it. It's just there. You see the driver, I thought I saw something move over there. And then something happens to side wreck it, to sideline it or whatever. And then the drivers get killed. And then we hear the pounding on the walls. Boom, boom, boom. It's so intense. You can feel the tension there. And then when it bangs the one side, and dents in, and that's when, of course, Skye gets taken over. It does so many things well. When the whole bit of her repeating everybody and how that slowly progresses to her repeating him and just him, and then them speaking at the same time to where she slowly overtakes him. She's like, oh, it looks like I'm ahead of you now. Tennant's doing so much acting on his face when he's at the point where he can't move and he's just repeating what she's saying. He's doing so much with his facial expression. It's like he's trying to break out, to break free, and he can't. When he's just sitting there talking like that. That's so well done. Such a good performance. And of course, it takes the woman who's basically the stewardess to save him, to pull Skye out. And we still don't know if that actually killed the entity or not. It just killed, I guess, her and Skye's body. We don't know what happened to the entity. And I like that. I like the fact we don't know. And I think it's interesting how no one even knew the stewardess' name. Even the Doctor's like, did anyone catch her name? Did anyone know her name? Which is actually a nice, important lesson about being kind to people in the service industry. As someone who's worked in the service industry, I can tell you. It goes a long way. Yeah, it's just a masterpiece of an episode that I appreciate a lot more now in retrospect. And number 6 on the list is Planet of the Dead. Now, I know this is probably higher than a lot of people would put this one, but I really like Planet of the Dead. It's fun. It's adventurous. I love the guest cast. I love Michelle Ryan as the lady D'Souza or whatever her name is. I love her. Like, I count her as a companion. She's so good. There's such a good pairing in this. Again, it's another person Tennant just has really good chemistry with. And the 10th Doctor has good chemistry with. Excuse me. And I like the kind of flirty banter between them. Like, I usually don't like romance in Doctor Who, but sometimes it really clicks with that little flirty banter, and I like the way they have that. I like that. I'm an alien, but you don't have to kiss me either. I love that. And I just like the character that Michelle Ryan's playing here. When I rank companions, she's going to be on the list because I just love them together. I love the fact we get to see the iconic British red bus. That's great. And I love how that's important to the story. I like the lady playing the kind of captain or major in the story. I don't know her name. The one he's like, did you just salute right now? And she's like, no. I like her. She's really good. I love Malcolm. I absolutely love Malcolm. I like Osgood a lot, but I can't ever decide between her and Malcolm. I like them both. He just has, the actor playing him, which I think he's a comedian in real life. I'm not sure, but I think he just nails that. I absolutely love that. You named a unit of measurement after yourself. Well, it didn't do so bad for Mr. Watt now, did it? I love Malcolm in it. He's just he's like a Doctor Who fanboy the way we're a Doctor Who fanboy. You know, we're Doctor Who fanboys. I love that. I absolutely love that there's like a Doctor fanboy in the episode. I love that. I think the scenes in the desert look really good. I like the insect aliens and the fact that they're good aliens. They're benign aliens. I enjoy that. I like when she's like, you speak their language? He's like, every language. I like the creatures in the story. The fact they're not malevolent creatures. They're not evil creatures. They're just, what they're doing is their life cycle. It's terrible. But that's just their life cycle, that they just strip down these planets, you know, recreate more of them, and then they do that spitting thing to open a hole and go to the next one. And that it happens so fast once the Doctor figures out what happens and then where all the sand and everything came from. And the fact he just moves them toward like a planet where, you know, there's no life. That's pretty interesting. The design of the creatures is pretty cool. The scene when she's having to scale down to get the little piece out is pretty neat, very Mission Impossible-like. And how I like how her and Tennant kind of bond, where he's like, yeah, that blue box I'm talking about, yeah, I stole it. I enjoy that. They're really good together. I wish we'd had more episodes with her and Ten together. I really do. And then the ending, the foreshadowing toward Tennant's regeneration with the woman telling him, you know, he will knock 4 times. And then I enjoy that. I do enjoy that nice little bit of foreshadowing. I like Planet of the Dead. It's fun. I tend to like fun in Doctor Who, and it's really, really fun. And number 5 on the list is Utopia. I love Utopia. Part of this is just down to Derek Jacobi. I can never remember if it's Jacobi or Jacobi, but I like him. He is so good in this. From playing the Professor, where he is just phenomenal as the Professor, and I love seeing him and Ten kind of bond, the conversations when they're working, they're talking together, and, you know, the Doctor's telling him, no, you'd be remembered as a great mind, you know, if all the galaxies hadn't decided to destroy themselves. And there's just like, those darn galaxies, you know, and they have a fun little rapport there. I enjoy that moment they have. It makes it all the more tragic when it's revealed that who the Professor really is. And that whole bit, that whole last few minutes where everything really kicks into high gear is great, with Jack working in the machine to turn everything, to get those down, and him and Tennant are talking about Rose and why Jack is the way he is, to where the Professor, you know, getting those headaches hearing the drums, which you've had the nice foreshadowing about the drums pretty much the whole part. So we know something's been up the whole time, we just don't know what. It's when he pulls out the watch and Martha turns it over and we see it's like a Time Lord fob watch. We start going, oh, ho, 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 ho. And then of course you hear the bits of Delgado from the Daemons, you know, kill him and you will give your power to me, which I had not seen the Daemons yet, so I didn't catch that, but I could tell it was classic Doctor Who. So I was like, oh, open me, receive my majesty. I was like, That whole bit, and the music right there, the incidental music that plays when all of this is happening, when he's becoming the master, is phenomenal. Murray Gold just nails this perfectly. And then when he does, after he opens the watch and you see him turn, he does that literal heel turn. And just the look on his face sells it. You know that this is a totally different person. And he's not a good guy. Just that. You can see it on the face and in the eyes. It's magic. It's magic. It's perfect. A literal heel turn. And then that whole ending bit when he's sabotaging everything to the point to where Chantho has to actually shoot him. The regeneration sequence is nice. The first time we've ever really seen the Master properly regenerate. So that was a pretty cool scene. I love the fact it looked a little different than the Doctors. The colors were a little different. That was pretty cool. And it was a good cliffhanger. And everything else leading up to it was good. The reunion with Jack was good. And I like how they talk and bond. Learning about the other people, I forget what they're called, the end kind or what they're called. They're pretty neat. I still don't quite get how the one snuck in. The one girl that starts sabotaging stuff, I still don't get how she made it in. But, you know, somehow she did, obviously. Yeah, I just really liked this one. It's a lot of fun. Even before you get to the ending, it's pretty cool what's going on, watching the Doctor. I love when the Doctor's like, oh, didn't I tell you? I'm brilliant. I love that. And the fact he's able to make it work so easily. And then when he's talking to Martha about, or everyone about how he lost that, she's like, you regrew a hand. He's like, yeah, still me. Hello. I love that. Really good episode, really fun. Not the other two episodes that end the series don't quite live up to it, but it's a great setup. Number 4 on the list is School Reunion, which is another good one. I love School Reunion. I love that we got the guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer playing the principal. He's great in the role. Of course, I love having Sarah Jane back. Sarah Jane's my favorite companion. So getting someone from Classic Who back is a great moment for me. The fact that Sarah Jane's so good, and the fact they did it so early in the show, that they do it, just part way into series 2, that we get a classic companion return, and that it is Sarah. That's wonderful. Elizabeth Sladen and David Tennant have really good chemistry. And the Doctor and her Doctor and the 10th Doctor and her get on really well. They click really well together. I do love them on screen together. I very much believe this is the same character. These are the same two characters that I watched from the 70s. Well, I didn't watch in the 70s. I wasn't there. But they strike me as the exact same characters they were in 70s Doctor Who. That's a better way to put that. And I love having K9 back, because I love me some K9. I'm glad John is back voicing K9. K9 gets some great moments. K9 Mark III. I enjoy the little bickering between Sarah Jane and Rose doesn't really do much for me. It's not bad, and I do love when they put it behind them, like when they're both laughing at the Doctor at some of the stuff he does. That's kind of funny. But yeah, I don't really get into the bicker. I feel like Sarah Jane's a little too old and a little too above that, honestly. I like how Mickey's like, I'm the 10th dog. I love the scene when he's like, well, how do we get in there? We are in a car with K9. I do like that scene. K9 sacrificing himself to stop him is a touching moment, even though it's a different K9 than we really see in most of Doctor Who. We don't see the Mark III much in Doctor Who. And the fact they could just build another one, which he does, it's still a sad moment because it's K9. I love me some K9. That whole bit when it's like, you good dog. Affirmative. And then I like how he tells Anthony Head, is that his name? When he tells him at the end, you're a bad doggy. Affirmative. I love that. I love that. So it's still a sad and tender moment when that version of K9 dies. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love the conversations between Anthony and David there. That bit about, if I don't like it, it will stop. You get one warning. That was it. No second chances, basically. I enjoy that when they're basically having that stare down. I enjoy when Anthony offers the Doctor the chance to work with them, and that Sarah Jane is like, no, everything has its time and everything ends. It's a beautiful speech, which with Elizabeth gone is even more impactful for me whenever I rewatch that one, because I do enjoy watching it. Plus, it's a little dark. The very opening of the episode shows the one girl that gets sent to the principal's office. So you have no family, no one to miss you. Well, come on in, it's almost lunchtime. I'm like, they ate her, this innocent little girl, and they ate her. It's a reminder that Doctor Who can be a bit brutal at times. It really can. It's a wonderful little opening. It's a good episode. It's a fun episode with a lot of messages, and you learn that, you know, that whole bit when the Doctor tells her you can spend the rest of your life with me, but I can't spend the rest of my life with you. I think it's a very important episode and essential Doctor Who, honestly. Number 3 on the list for me is The Girl in the Fireplace. I really like this one. When I was making my list for essential 10th Doctor stories, this one was on it. The incidental music for it's really good. I love the Madame de Pompadour theme and the different variations of it. If they ever put out a soundtrack just to this episode, I would buy it because I love all the different versions of that theme. I enjoy the actress playing Madame de Pompadour. She's really good. Again, her and Tennant have good chemistry. They're really good together in this. And again, they have this kind of, it's not flirty. It's more like a more natural romantic bond at the beginning of its formation. You know, when two people just kind of start getting into each other, but you can tell they're getting into each other, but they're not moving too fast. They kind of have that. It's way different than the flirty nature he has with Michelle Ryan in Planet of the Dead. This is a more solid romantic emotions maybe starting to happen between them. I mean, she obviously has things for him, but she's also holding herself back. And you can tell he obviously instinctively connects with her. I really, really like that. That's performed really well. The set pieces when he's in the past look really good. The sets when they're on the ship look fine. They're nothing to write home about, but they're fine. I do love the robots, though, the clockwork machines. Their design is great, especially when they're in disguise to go into the past. I love their designs. I love the robotic way they move. I love the faces they wear and the sounds they make. It's chilling and neat at the same time. Whoever did a lot of the designs for this episode were really working overtime. And I love how Tennant, despite the danger of the robotic clock creatures, he's still fascinating. You know, you can really see his 3 is showing because 3 loves gadgets so much. When he's taking off the mask and looking at it, he goes, "Oh, you are beautiful." I love that. I love his fascination with how the thing's made and how it works. Very much his 3rd Doctor showing. It's a very Doctor thing, and I like that. I think Billie Piper and Noel Clarke are good in this, playing their roles. I still like that. What's a horse doing on the ship? What's 17th century France doing on the ship? Get some perspective. I enjoyed that. I mean, there is the huge plot hole of why didn't they just take the TARDIS back to the past? Why did he have to break through the mirror with the horse? And that whole line about we can't use the TARDIS, we're caught up in events now. I'm like, not buying it. I love the fact they at least tried and put that in there, but not buying it. The Doctor has used the TARDIS to do stuff like that all the time. Not buying it. He should have been able to just travel back there in the TARDIS. But, you know, that you wouldn't have been able to have that ending where Madame de Pompadour saves him by showing him the fireplace. So it's a big, it has to happen that way for the plot to proceed, but for me, it's still an exhaust-port plot hole when he should have just been able to use the TARDIS. That's really my only issue with it, though. I tend to like the episode. And then the ending of the episode, of course, when Renette has passed away, Tennant acts that scene really well when he has the letter and when he reads it, when he tucks it away. The look on his face. Tennant's very good at acting with his face. And that kind of says it all about how hurt he is, but how he's also keeping it inside because that's what his doctor does. He keeps all that pain in there. It's a really touching ending. It's a really good story. And one of the ones I like to go back and revisit, even though I haven't actually watched it in a while. Number 2 on the list is Gridlock. I love Gridlock, another underrated story, and it was also on my essentials list. This one is so much fun. I love the nice callback to the Macroterra in it. That is great. It makes sense to the story as they're living off the gas, just like in Macroterra. I enjoyed that. I love the guest cast. I think they're all good in this. Even the people who are just running the little stores at the beginning, the actors playing them do a great job. You want some happy? The 2 people who kidnap Martha at the beginning, they're doing fine. The people the doctor meets in the cars, in the subway, that's a wonderful little cast of characters as well. There's such a variety of characters in it. The actors playing them are like giving 110%. I'm loving it. I love having the guy playing Brannigan in it. I know he's from another British show called My Hero. He plays the main character in My Hero. His name is George, who's an alien that looks human. And I like My Hero. One of my uncles really liked that show, and I used to watch it with him. It was a really good show. So it's nice to see him in this. The cat makeup on him looks really good, but I recognize his voice. I know his voice anywhere. He's really good in it. I love the kind of one posh British guy in it. I love the two old ladies that are married. That's pretty progressive, too, for 2007. The two old ladies who are married in it. I find that really neat. But I like the fact that they don't overly call attention to that. They don't go out of their way to hit you over the head with, hey, older couple married. It's just kind of mentioned and it's there. They don't shove it in your face, which I like. I love how they put that in there, but it feels organic and natural. Much like with Captain Jack. Captain Jack always felt organic and natural to me, and I really like that. I love the fact we learned that the Doctor got his coat from Janis Joplin. That's pretty cool. And I enjoy the ending a lot. Both, the two pieces of the ending, really. The one where the Doctor manages to save the city and then the face of Bo is dying. That whole scene with the face of Bo dying is beautiful. That version of the face of Bo theme is beautiful. And how Tennant doesn't want him to die. The face is talking about, I'm the last of my kind just as you are the last of yours, which is news for Martha. It's like, that's why we have to survive, don't go. And of course we get the nice foreshadowing of him saying, you are not alone. Even though it could have just been like, so in the future you're going to go and meet this professor guy, but it has to happen this way because, it's entertainment TV. And then the ending scene when Martha's like, no, you're going to talk to me. I'm not moving from this chair until you talk to me. And the Doctor tells her about how he lied about Gallifrey and how it's gone and how his people are gone and the war. And he describes what Gallifrey looks like. That scene is beautiful. Tennant deserves all the BAFTAs right there. And I mean, Freema's great in this episode too. She is phenomenal. I absolutely love Martha as a companion. And I love her backbone here. The fact she doesn't take stuff from him. One, when she's kidnapped, she takes charge over the two people that kidnapped her. She basically starts running the show saying, no, we need to do this. And they listen to her. So that's awesome. And then two, I love here that she stands up to him. It's like, no, you're going to explain this to me. I'm not your sidekick here. I like that. And then Tennant's performance when he's talking about all of that at the end, and he's describing Gallifrey. It's all gone now. My family, my friends, even that sky. It's beautiful. It's touching. It's an interesting way to end the episode. It's very sad when he's having to kind of pour out his heart in a way to her about stuff and be honest with her. Tennant delivers that so well. It's a really good episode. So many good things going on in it. And number one on the list is Blink. And I know that can sound like a bandwagon statement, to be honest. And some people could roll their eyes at that. I get it, because the Doctor... How can Tennant's best episode be an episode he's not in a lot? This is probably the best Dr. Light episode that's ever been made. Now, I didn't know Blink was going to be number one. I literally did this list from the ground up, from worst up. It's not like some list where, like, I at least know the first two or three that are going to be the top, and I know the ones that are going to be the bottom, and then I have to kind of figure out what's in the middle. This one wasn't like that. I literally started from the bottom at the worst and worked all the way up to the top. So I didn't know Blink was going to be number one until I got very close to the top of the list, like within the top 5. So I'm a bit surprised, but I love Blink. It's a great horror story. I mean, I've had a couple of people who aren't Doctor Who fans I've shown Blink to, one of which that night turned out very, very well. So I can also give Blink credit for that. I enjoy the fact, one, Carrie's doing a great job playing Sally Sparrow. The girl who plays her best friend does a really good job playing her. The guy playing the brother, don't really care much for him. Both of the actors playing the police officer, the young and old version of him, are great, and I believe the actor playing the older version of him is also from Classic Who. The concept of the Weeping Angels is fantastic. Again, it's Doctor Who taking something ordinary and normal that's just a normal part of our lives at this point, statues and stuff, and making them deadly and dangerous. And the idea of making them only able to move when you're not looking at them is a fascinating one, and I enjoy it. So it's a clever idea. And the angels have never been done as good as they are here in Blink, because it is one of those ideas where you're peeling back the layers of what's happening as the story progresses. That is part of what makes it fascinating. The incidental music is good here. The camera work and directing is good here. The use of camera angles is well done. The kind of sound it makes when the angels move sometimes, that shh sound really adds to it. It's like you don't even notice it, but it's there, but it really adds to it. The scene when her friend first gets taken by the angels, that build-up when you see the angels moving and it doing that and then the arm out is fascinating. Even the opening trailer, when she's seeing the message from the doctor and the rock telling her to duck, is really good. Although you kind of wonder why the angels just don't take her then. But that aside, it's really good. The scene when her and the doctor are talking through the DVD recording is really neat. I really like that whole scene. Don't turn away, don't move your head, and don't blink. Good luck. I can rewind it. What good would that do? And then the tension when they realize things are coming from them. Even the doctor says it. Nah, and that's all I've got. I don't know why you stopped talking, but I can guess they're coming. I love all that. And then watching him and her try to get down there to the basement. The angels trying to make the lights go out. And then finding out the doctor tricked them into looking at each other where they can't move. It's a masterpiece of an episode. A good example of Doctor Who horror. And the fact that it doesn't have the doctor in it much, and it's the guest cast carrying the episode. And they do it really well, especially when you realize it's not a big guest cast. They do it really well. It's just a phenomenal piece of Doctor Who. It's a very, some people are like, it's not a traditional episode of Doctor Who, and I get what they mean by that, but it is very Doctor Who in the fact that it's something different. It's something unique, like Ghostlight, or Midnight, or The Mind Robber, something like that. It fits into that wheelhouse very well of Doctor Who doing what only Doctor Who can do. And that's fascinating. So yes, I think it deserves the #1 spot on this list. It is definitely one of the episodes from his era I love to rewatch the most. So that has been me ranking all of the 10th Doctor era from worst to best. I want to know what you think of this list and how you would rank it if you want to go through the trouble of writing all that. So comment down below and let me know other things to do. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. That helps me out. And I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in 2023. That is my goal for this year, for the anniversary year of Doctor Who. And we're well on our way to that. We're at about 970 as I'm recording this. So we're getting there. So if you've enjoyed this video and want to see more of my content, click that subscribe button and that like button. I also have a Patreon. If you would like to support me on that, that does help me keep the bills paid, especially in 2023 when inflation is insane. So there's a link to that down in the description as well. If you want to take a moment and check that out, my entry-level tier is only $2 a month. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Finn Perkins, and Colin Coney. I appreciate their support as I do the support of all of my patrons. I very much appreciate it. I have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review, Doctor Who related or otherwise. It is a sci-fi channel after all, currently starting to work on Blake 7 reviews now. I also have an Amazon wish list. A link to that is down there if you want to check that out. That's updated regularly. And most importantly, thank you for watching. Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be ranking the 10th Doctor era from worst to best. So all of David Tennant's stories as the 10th Doctor. So series 2, 3, 4, and the 2009 specials. And it's a big one. 37 stories, by the way, at least I do the counting. 37 stories. No. Number 35 on the list. Number 35 on the list is Turn Left. What? Turn Left is all the way down at 35? Yes it is. Turn Left is a good story for developing Donna. She gets some great character. Nope, we're going to try that again. I am a great magician. Your shirt is red. Next on the list in 21st place. Whew. And number 20 on the list is Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks, which is a nice underrated two-parter. It's not perfect. It has flaws, like the kind of bubbly Harley Quinn-like blonde girl. Harley Quinn's probably a bad word. Nope, gotta redo it. At number 19 on the list is An Itchy Nose. An Itchy Nose. Number 12. That came out weird.